how to increase and decrease for amigurumi. Hi there, I'm Cilla from Cilla Crochets, and I'm here to cheer you on throughout your crochet journey, no matter what stage you're at. In this video, I'm going to show you how to increase and decrease when you're crocheting amigurumi. This is very much so a beginner tutorial, so if you're brand new to amigurumi and crochet, you're in the right place. So before I show you how to increase and decrease, let me explain what that means. So in crochet patterns, sometimes you'll see an abbreviation that says INC, that stands for increase, or DEC, and that stands for decrease. And when we're talking about amigurumi, we're talking about a lot of different 3D shapes. So when we make amigurumi, they are mainly 3D shapes that are all joined together. I'm using Pippa the Penguin, one of my free crochet patterns on my website, just as a bit of an example. So, you know, the wings are crocheted in the round, and basically the increase is creating the part of the wing that goes outwards, and the decrease creates the part of the wing where it goes skinnier. Or even a better example is the body. So the increase is when you start off with a magic circle. In this case, we started at the bottom and we increase to get bigger, and then we decrease to get smaller up the top. So an increase increases the number of stitches in the round that we're crocheting, and a decrease decreases the number of stitches in the round we are crocheting. Typically for amigurumi, we're working in single crochet stitches. That is in US terms. So in the UK, that's double crochet, which can get a little bit confusing. So make sure you check the crochet pattern you're using to see what terminology it is using. But basically, an increase is 2 single crochet stitches in 1 stitch when we're talking about amigurumi. Or a decrease is joining 2 stitches together. When you're working in the round, which you'll see shortly in the tutorial, don't worry, you join 2 stitches underneath, so you end up with 1 less stitch in the round that you're crocheting. That means that you're not skipping any stitches to create a lower number of stitches in the round you're working. You're still working into every stitch, because the other thing about amigurumi is you want to make sure you can't see your stuffing. So that means tight stitches, and it also means not skipping stitches. Some patterns also won't use the abbreviation INC or DEC. So INC for increase, DEC for decrease. Some crochet patterns, you might see them say something like 2 single crochet into the next stitch. Or the other abbreviation for a decrease instead of DEC is SC2 TOG. And SC stands for single crochet, the number 2, and then TOG stands for together. So all that means is single crochet 2 together. So you're single crocheting 2 stitches together. That is essentially a very quick overview of what an increase and decrease is for amigurumi, and I hope that helps. But let me show you what that actually means in practice when we're crocheting. Alright, let's jump into the tutorial.
So we're starting with a magic circle with 6 single crochet in the round. This is probably the most common starting point for amigurumi. And we're going to go straight in and do an increase. So all we're doing is a single crochet in the next stitch, and now we're going to insert our hook into the same stitch again, the same one we just crocheted into. So let's go ahead and do that now. So you'll insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and then pull through again, and that is your increase. It's simply 2 single crochet into the same stitch. And what this means is that we've increased the 1 stitch that was in our first round to 2 stitches. So I've already jumped ahead and started doing our next increase. So again, it's just 2 single crochets into the next stitch underneath. So that means we've turned 2 stitches now from our first round into 4 stitches because we've crocheted 2 stitches into each of those single stitches underneath. Now I'm just putting a stitch marker in here because you don't want to lose your place. We're crocheting in continuous rounds. So we're going on to the 3rd stitch now and doing another increase. So this is our 3rd increase. So that's 2 single crochet into the next stitch. Now I'm going to go ahead and increase in the final 3 stitches. So we're doing 6 increases in this round, which will double the amount of stitches in our round 2. That's because the stitches in the magic circle we count as round 1. So at the end, I'm going to show you what this looks like. Okay, so we've reached the end of the round now, and you'll see that we have 12 stitches in total. So that is double the amount of stitches we started with in round 1. Now we'll go on to round 3, and in round 3 we're going to single crochet in the first stitch, and then we'll increase in the second stitch. And we'll repeat that sequence 6 times. So I've just done the single crochet, now I'm going on to the increase, so that's a single crochet, and then another single crochet in the same stitch. Now take a quick break to put in the stitch marker, but then we'll continue doing that sequence 5 more times, because we've already done it once, so it's a total of 6 times we're repeating that pattern. And the reason I wanted to go on to round 3 and show you this is it explains how the 3D shapes are formed in Amigurumi, because we're not always doing an increase in every single stitch. Increases will be split apart by a certain number of single crochets, and where these increases are placed will also determine what the shape looks like. Decreases also have this ability to manipulate the shape that you're creating with your stitches. So it's something to be aware of, that when a pattern designer writes an increase or a decrease in their pattern, that they've put it in the place that it is for a reason. And unless you're a super experienced crocheter and you understand the way these increases and decreases manipulate shapes, always follow the pattern. Otherwise you'll end up with a shape that does not look anything like you expect it to look if your increases and decreases are in different locations to where the designer has written them in the pattern. And would you look at that, we're so close to being finished round 3. We've got our last sequence to go, so we're doing a single crochet, and then we're doing an increase, so 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and going into the same stitch again to do another single crochet. And that is the end of our round 3. And this gives us 18 stitches in total. And it's also a really good view of what the increase looks like. So you can see the 2 little V's in our current row going into 1 little loop underneath, which was 1 stitch in row 2. So what was 1 stitch in row 2 is now 2 stitches in row 3. I hope that makes sense and it doesn't confuse things anymore, but let's crack on now and I will show you how to decrease for Amigurumi. So the row 4 I'm doing here is not something you would normally do for Amigurumi, but I am for this tutorial, so bear with me. Now, that is the first single crochet. So we're going to do a single crochet and decrease 6 times around to go back to 12 stitches. Now we're going to join these 2 next stitches that we're up to by doing a standard decrease. Now this is just a normal decrease you would do in any type of crochet. So you insert your hook as you would normally to do a single crochet, yarn over, pull through, but now we're going to do the same thing in the next stitch. So we insert the hook, we've yarned over, we've pulled through, and now we've got 3 loops on our hook. Now we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on our hook. So that is a standard decrease, but you'll notice it's quite thick because we've got 2 bits of yarn that have been pulled through from both single crochets. So to join the 2 stitches, we inserted our hook twice and pulled through twice. Now with the next sequence, I'm going to show you the invisible decrease, which is what most proficient crocheters will use when they make amigurumi. So we're going to insert our hook into the front loop only of the next stitch. Then we're going to repeat that for the next stitch after that. So we've got 2 front loops on our hook. We yarn over and pull through those 2 front loops. Now we're left with 2 loops on our hook instead of 3 like the standard decrease. Now we're looking at the back of our amigurumi piece. This is where we haven't crocheted into the back loops. And that's where the stuffing goes. Now this is the front that people will see. This is the whole reason why we can crochet into the front loops only when it comes to doing a decrease. In comparison to if you're working back and forth in rows, you would have to go through both loops of the stitch. So here I just want to point out this is the standard decrease, and you'll notice it's quite a lot thicker than the invisible decrease, which is the one we've just done. And that is all because of the amount of yarn we're pulling through the stitch when we join the stitches together. So with a standard decrease, you're pulling through 2 loops, so you've got 3 loops on your hook, whereas with the invisible decrease, you're only pulling through once through both front loops, so you've got less yarn. So I'm up to the 3rd decrease in this round, and I'm going to show you the invisible decrease again. So we're inserting our hook into the front loops only of the next 2 stitches. We yarn over, we pull through those 2 loops, then we yarn over and pull through again. And that is our 3rd decrease in this round. So I'm going to continue on and finish this round. However, hopefully you can see the difference between that first standard decrease we did in comparison to the invisible decreases. And hopefully you'll see why they're called invisible decreases as well, because they're meant to be less noticeable than a normal decrease when you crochet.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of this video on how to increase and decrease for amigurumi. I hope this tutorial has helped, and if you've enjoyed it, please do give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more crochet videos from me, please do hit that subscribe button as well and turn the little bell on so you get notified anytime new videos are released. Until next time, happy crocheting!